Hello and welcome to Travel Babble with Basha. I am Basha, your hostess today as we visit southern Spain. I absolutely love southern Spain. It's one of my favorite places that I have visited so far in this world. Why? It's just an atmosphere. It's just a feeling that comes over me when I get there. I recently spent some time there and I rented a small one-bedroom apartment that I'd like to tell you about today. Now I'm going to review this apartment. There are other apartments in this same community that are also available for rent. I've visited a few of them, but I can't speak for staying at them. But this place was wonderful, and I will put the information up on a screen. But it is in a place called Hacienda de Alamo Golf Resort, which is in Fuente, Alamo de Murcia, in the Murcia area of southern Spain. It's about 30 minutes by car from Cartagena, Spain, where the beaches are. So this is a little bit inland. There's not a beach there, but beaches are nearby, easy to drive to. It's a gated community. It is a golf community, so there is a nice golf course there. Now, I did not play on the golf course, but I spoke to several people who live there full time, and they play 4 or 5 times a week when they're there. They love the golf course. There's also a golf club. There's a lot of activities going on. Now, the apartment I stayed in was a one-bedroom apartment. I was traveling solo, which I do the majority of the time, and it was perfect for me. It wasn't too big. It wasn't too small. As you first walked in, there was the living room kitchen combination. There was a table. There was a couch, which was nice to lay on in the evening or to sit on while I watched TV. There was a nice satellite TV. The stations that were available were a mixture. Now, I've traveled a lot in Europe, and a lot of times you're very limited, but this had English channels, it had French channels, it had Spanish channels. There might have been some other ones that I'm just not recalling or I didn't recognize the language, but there were plenty of things to watch. Depending on what language you needed, you could get the news. There were some shows that maybe the commercials were in Spanish, but the show was in English. There were shows that I recognized. So I didn't spend a lot of time watching TV, but there were good availability for when I did. Over on the side was the kitchen area. Now, the kitchen area was plentiful. It included a refrigerator with a freezer on the bottom. Not huge, but most of them in Europe are not going to be huge. But it was plenty. I was there for a little over a week. Plenty of room for what I needed. There was also a nice sink with a little drainer area beside it so I could rinse my dishes and put them there. But there was a dishwasher, so I ran the dishwasher a few times while I was there. Dishwashing soap was provided. Very easy to do. There was also a washing machine. Again, I used the washing machine a few times. It's on the smaller end, but that is typical for the area in Europe. There is not a dryer. Again, typical. You hang your wash outside, and there was a provided, not sure what it's called, it's like a rack, a drying rack, I guess, that you fold up when you're done, and you can fold out and put out. Now, I had a little terrace that I put it on, but at one point I moved it off the terrace so that it could get some sun and dry faster. That is not a problem. There's other people around there doing the same thing. There was a hob, or you may call it a stovetop, that wasn't too difficult to use. I'll tell you about that a little bit more. There was also an oven that also served as a microwave. Now, I never used it as a microwave. I used it as an oven and had no problems with it. As far as the stovetop goes, it was not one I was familiar with. It wasn't hard or difficult to use. But the nice thing about this place is when I came in, on the table, the landlord had folders. And she had folders for just about anything that you could imagine. And one of those folders was how to use the different appliances. I pulled that out to look up how to use the hob. And it was very informative. I also, of course, used YouTube when I needed to for certain things. But once I knew how to use it, it was very easy. It's just you had to push certain buttons to turn on the hob and then to turn on different burners. But there was so much information there. When I wanted to use the oven, I again could pull it out. So I just knew which buttons to push Just made it easier than me having to figure out. One of the other nice things, there was a lot of storage and there was a lot of availability. There were pans, there were strainers, there were storage containers. Unfortunately for me, because I'm short, they were up high. But fortunately, the landlord has a stool that she leaves there. So I was able to pull the stool over, step on that, get up. I could reach everything I needed, which was really nice in that kitchen. As you would walk out of the living room area, there were two ways to leave. One was in the back, and it took you straight into a hallway and to a bathroom. Now, the bathroom was a good size bathroom. It had a toilet. It had a nice bar to hang your towels. It had a sink with a little stand beside it where you could put your toothpaste or your soap, whatever you needed to put there. And then there was a shower. Now, I will say the shower's not big. It opens from the sides and slides, so there is a room to get in there, but it's not huge. One of the things I noticed when I got in the shower, it was fine until I used hair conditioner. The hair conditioner tended to make the floor slippery. So just be careful, but I think this is something I've noticed a lot of places. So the floor was slippery, maybe it could use with something there, but I'm just warning you, whether you're at this place or another, be careful if you use certain hair products that may make something slippery. Again, no problem. Towels were provided. I had all that I needed for just me in there. Now, as you come out of the bathroom, you could either walk further down that hall that you crossed, or if you had been in the living room, you could come out a different way. There was another hallway. It went straight into the bedroom. The bedroom had a nice sized bed. Being alone, it was more than enough for me. There was a closet that had a very small safe in it, had some shelves, had for hanging clothes and some hangers. I didn't unpack a lot. I admit I made a mess because I just didn't feel like unpacking stuff, and I tended to leave stuff in my luggage at one end of the living room because I was by myself. The other nice thing in the bedroom, both sides had some kind of stand. On the one side where I was, it was just a very small, it almost looked like a log or a stool that you could put some things on. On the other side was more of a traditional type nightstand, and it also had a electrical plug, like an outlet, an extension cord there. I used that. Now, I did have a converter, so that I could plug in the converter, then plug in an extension cord that I had, so that I didn't have to use a lot of converters to use theirs. It was a great location because I, at night, did not watch the TV that was in the bedroom. It was a very small TV, but it was there. But I was watching downloaded movies on shows on my tablet, and I could plug my tablet in over there, have it laying on the bed beside me because there was plenty of room, and I could also charge my phone, charge everything right there at the same time, which was really nice. Throughout, there were various light switches. It took me a little while to figure out which ones worked where, but once I did, it was fine. The living room had them at both ends. You could turn on the same lights. In the bedroom, there were two different places to turn on the overhead lights. There were also little lights beside on each side of the bed, which you could turn off either with one of the switches, or you could pull a string to turn it off if you were in bed and just wanted to turn it off for that. As far as me, I love outdoor space. The nice thing about this place is it had a small terrace out on the front. I spent the majority of my time, I believe, out on that terrace. There was a table with two chairs. I ate almost every single meal out at that table. I would sit out there, I would read, I sometimes took my laptop out there. The unit does provide Wi-Fi. It was very good. I used it to hook up my laptop, my tablet, and my phone, and I never had any connection issues whatsoever that I recall with any of those. But I sat out on the terrace a lot. I would talk on the phone, work on my computer, play games on my tablet, never had an issue. It was a decent size. Not a lot of the places around there that are on the ground floor, and this was on the ground floor, have a terrace. So that was really nice. Now, it does have people that walk past there from time to time, so you will have people that will say hello. You'll have people that walk by and don't say anything. Typical, not a problem. But I got to know some of the neighbors by sitting out there as well, and I also could hang my laundry out there, or as I said earlier, put it out. It had a small door gate that locked if I wanted to lock it so nobody could come up on the terrace and get to my door. The door was a little different for me as far as how to unlock it and lock it, but not a big problem. The landlord, when I got there, was out of town. She was traveling for several weeks in another country, but she had a backup. And what was really nice is I was going to get there late in the evening. I had driven about 650 kilometers to get there. So I was tired, and I got there later in the evening. And her backup was busy, so her backup had a backup, which was really nice. It was the backup's daughter who came over, showed me around, gave me just a few little bits of information that I needed to know, showed me where all the folders were on the table, kind of told me what was in each one, and then went on her way, gave me the keys. The next day, the landlord's normal backup did come over. She visited with me for about half hour, 45 minutes. That was my doing. They don't just come in. She wasn't bothersome or anything, but I was asking information because I would love to find a place in that particular area as a home base or a partial home base. So I was asking her a lot of questions about the area. As I said, the area is very nice. It is a gated community. There is the golf course. There are pools in each of the various sections because there are different sections. Now, the section that I was in was the Spanish Pueblo section, and over behind me was a small little grocery store. I was going to head up to the grocery store one day just for a few things, and I saw that one as I was walking to my car, and so I just went in there and bought a few things that would get me through a couple days. So I didn't have to go out because I had just driven there the day before and was very tired. There were also several restaurants back there, and there was some outdoor, like a restaurant, bar, pub type place. Now, I will say there were a couple nights that it got very loud. One was a Wednesday night, but it cut off probably around 9 or 10 o'clock. The other one was on a weekend night, and I could hear things up until about midnight. But once I closed my windows and the covers over the windows, I couldn't hear but maybe a soft little hum of music. Again, I could have walked there. It was just around the back of my building, which was not that far. So it was very convenient if you wanted to go out, just have a drink, meet up with some friends. The community, I know, does have activities for people who live there longer, and that was very nice. And I was talking with different people that I met about those activities. Overall, I highly recommend this apartment especially, but any place that you want to stay in there. I visited, as I said, several different layouts, several different communities within that gated community, and they all were very nice. But this one was in particular nice because the landlord, Petra, was so organized. She had instructions for everything. She was available. Even when she was traveling, she messaged me just to make sure that everything was okay. So I highly recommend that you think about visiting southern Spain and look up the Hacienda del Alamo in Fuente, Alamo. And now, if you think that's interesting, please go pack your bags and head to southern Spain.